Hi Cancer, here is a general look at your solar chart for July 2015, and as if you've been following the online astrology, you'll know that your sign is a cardinal sign, and that as such there's subject to the Uranus-Pluto influence over these past few years. The other ones are Libra, Capricorn and Aries. So this month the Sun is in a cardinal sign, and that happens to be yours, so may I wish you a happy birthday. And because it's in a cardinal sign, it actually will have a little kind of encounter by degree, fleeting encounter by degree with Pluto and then Uranus. And that goes on between the 5th and the 14th, is sort of the real kind of sort of the crosshairs of it, of the degree, of the degrees between the 5th and the 14th. First of all, between the 5th and the 7th with Pluto, and then the 11th to the 14th with Uranus. But there's other things going on all the time as well. So it all depends what's in the mix, and also what you've got going on in your natal chart with your moon and your ascendant and other important points as well. So anyway, just for this sun sign astrology, the Sun is in your sign, which is the time of the year until the 23rd in particular for you to take more notice of yourself and do what you know you need to do for yourself, and just be more self-indulgent. This is the time for you to be just that itsy bitsy teensy weensy a little bit more self-centered, because if you aren't going to do it, who is? And anyway, if somebody else does try and do it, they never do it quite how you would like it to be done, or by and large that seems to be the rule of thumb. But this is a time for you to get into the zone of something that you really enjoy. Remember that the Sun rules the solar plexus, which is our core creative energy. It's our confidence. It's also our fear center, which is the other side of confidence. So is where we feel sometimes anxious because we're not properly aligned with the confident side of that, with the strength of the solar energy. So doing things that bring empowerment. This would be, you know, if you're just going on a shopping trip or whatever else, playing games, or just really getting yourself into that sort of environment, no matter what else is going on. And there probably are other things going on, because as I said at the beginning, there is Pluto, which evolves us through really quite sometimes emotional experiences. And then of course there's Uranus, which is more external. It's not so internal as Pluto, as internal, but even so that can really kind of give us a series of little shocks when that's going on, because of the fast accelerating energy of change. But because you're listening to the astrology, you're very, very aware of these two planets being prevalent. And anyway, speaking about those in a moment, but there's other things going on this month. And as the month kicks off, Mercury's actually, up until the 9th, Mercury is in a quiet sort of background area, and meaning that things are up in the air. You're not quite sure which way something's going to go, maybe, or the answer to something, or just questioning, you know, walking around with some question marks over the top of your head, and also zoning out sometimes, which is altogether acceptable for when Mercury is here. Great for spiritual activities, great for healing type activities, great for connecting with the other side of the veil, as it were, or with the higher self energies, and you know, the guidance, etc. It's very, very, very good for feeling guidance coming close, feeling not sort of directed, because that's not the way of it, but feeling as though there is concern coming from the invisible realms in a way which can be helpful if you just stop thinking and just feel and listen to it. Your sign is one of the more intuitive signs anyway, so mostly you would have a sense of how to do that. And then Mercury from the 9th, between the 9th and the 24th, comes into your sign. This is a very different vibe. This is far more left brain, a lot going on in your head, maybe more paperwork, maybe, you know, online stuff, correspondence, that type of thing, perhaps darting here, there and everywhere for some of you. Perhaps this is about communications equipment, vehicles, travel, transport, comings and goings, whether they're your own or others. So that's more of the feel when Mercury comes into your sign. And that means that the Sun and Mercury and then Mars are all going to be in your sign. Mercury not until the 9th, but the Sun and Mars right from the beginning of the month, meaning that you feel that this is the time now that you can be clearer about something which may be during the month before, particularly the early part of June, you weren't totally 100% clear about. And it brings more hustle and bustle in around you. You are feeling that you want to roll up your sleeves and get on with things. You want to get the ball rolling, or you want to initiate. You want to get organised, or maybe depending on where you are in your life and what's been going on, the energy just starts to accelerate, and you know that you've got to keep up somehow or other. So. And some of you will get plunged into situations, whether you're in the mood or not, which just demand assertiveness, demand leadership, demand decisions, and really are more demanding in general and have you working harder. But because all this is going on, particularly from the 9th, I have to say, with Mercury in your sign, but even before then, the whole of the month, I would say, in fact, yeah, the whole of the month. You need to be more vigilant about rest and recuperation, rest and relaxation, taking yourself out of this, this sort of information exchange, and just taking yourself away somewhere quiet, because as a water sign, you need that. You need to feel that food for your soul. You need to feel that quiet. You cannot find that oasis of calm unless you are in calmer conditions. Okay, that's calmer, not karma. We're all in those, I guess. But then you find, that something will just pop up, which is like a solution or an answer. Excuse me, in some way. You're more likely to then, and also get enough sleep too. Especially those of you, now I'm going to speak about the Uranian transit, excuse me, especially those of you born 10th to the 14th of July, or near there, or with 19 to 21 degrees rising, because you guys are going to be feeling the Uranian energy, which can be quite nervy. It can be quite an energy of, yes, it is an energy of it's electrical, it rules electricity, and it does influence the parasympathetic nervous system. So you need to just be sure, that you're sleeping okay and you're getting enough relaxation, particularly those dates there. But, the whole sign, those of you that have had the Uranian transit already will understand this, especially when we look back, we seem to see things clearer. Yeah, you need to, because Uranus will be going across the Sun, or the Sun and Uranus are going across each other's degree, particularly between the 11th and the 14th. And that can mean a tenser time. That can mean that you're just on the edge of your seat about something. Your tolerance may be lower, especially, because Pluto is in the mix as well. And Pluto does sensitize us. Pluto takes away layers, because that's Pluto's job, is to help us to peel away the layers of the past, or the layers of our emotional patterns, and so that the Pluto energy is trying to do that, and trying to get us to come more into our authentic, true relationship with ourselves, getting us to inhabit ourselves. So those of you who were born really those dates there, and also between the 5th and 7th of July, because you will be the nearest to the Plutonic energy, or 13 to 15 degrees rising, and Pluto, the Sun and Pluto are opposing each other between the 5th and the 7th. Okay, so you ones there, you just need to be aware of those dates this month and expect the unexpected. or expect there to be maybe things not running smoothly there. And there can be the underlying feeling of nervousness, or, you know, kind of anxiety, or there can be the underlying feeling of maybe you having to, maybe there's a clash of values. That can be going on, particularly with the those of you born 5th to the 7th, but between the 5th and 7th as well. So there might be a clash of values where you've really got to stick up for yourself. But having said that, this is no time to be going it alone either, and to be like, okay, I don't need you. I'm sort of getting out of here, sort of thing, because really you don't need that either, because you're oversensitive at the moment anyway. But having just advise that, really, it is not my place to advise anybody. It's just to let you know what the weather's going to be doing, and the astrological weather will be doing that. But with Pluto, it can, you know, we're getting up on our high horse because we are feeling something far more intensely than somebody else meant it, or can really be conscious of, because we are the ones that are kind of, you know, almost like more raw now, because we've got Pluto so close to our sun. And it could be others as well who've got Pluto in a different sort of angle, and those as well. But we're just talking about your sun sign at the moment. So this is a time when you could meet some resistance from another. And then if it's handled as well as you can handle that without being too over the top or conceding either, but also realizing you've got to let something go. So maybe it's just an approach you've got to let go of, and you've got to try another tangent, you see. It might be like that. Then there's likely to be a breakthrough, because this is also Pluto's job, to allow us to then break through a resistance, and then, like a challenge, overcome, and you feel quite proud of yourself, you know, okay, you know, result there. And then you feel unburdened because you were big enough to actually let go of something. It might be a material thing, it might be an idea, it might be an approach in some way, it might be, I don't know, a contract, or it can be a relation, you know, it can be lots and lots and lots of different things. So anyway, so then the other transit that's going on of note is, particularly over the first week, I would say, is a really, really nice one coming from Jupiter and Uranus. And it will be just a nice, gentle energy, which is generally on the upturn. Just in the background. But hey, if you put that next to these other transits, then that will just kind of mitigate them, you know, the other transits. And then Mercury moves on the 24th and goes into the next sector, which is about the practicalities of things, the financial side of things, the material security side of things, stuff, really. And will actually join the sun as well, because the sun goes in there from the 23rd. So that's us thinking about the piggy bank. Also thinking, you know, how healthy is my bank account, but also how healthy am I? Because it's also quite a physical, material area. It's also an area to do with possessions of various kinds, so property, but also smaller possessions. And there could be conversations revolving around that side of life. And you're seeing how perhaps you can get the best out of assets, or thinking about how to improve things, and bouncing ideas off with others as well. There's another unusual transit, Venus. Venus is in a very, very long transit of this very area. In fact, you're very fortunate with Venus and Jupiter being in this area, and both of these planets are potentially planets of abundance. So you got them in the area of money, which is good news in my book. Property, possessions. Of course, you can have so much that you've got to deal with. That's another way it can work, of course, but it's better to have a surplus than lack, a scarcity, probably. Although it depends on who you are and what you want out of life at this stage of life. But so Venus, apart from July the 19th to August the 1st, when Venus actually moves out of there and goes into the house of meeting and greeting and negotiations and so on, which is really good news for you if you want to get a good deal, by the way. Venus is in the area concerning money, property, possessions, and other basic stuff. It's also to do with the physical side of life as well. So if there's been some ongoing kind of thing going on, or there is a health thing or thing to do with the general well-being of yourself or another, this can also be good news to have Venus in here, because you can it just takes the edge off things, and you can deal with things with help, because often Venus brings in support. Venus brings in a warm relationship or teaming up with someone who can just give you that facilitating energy. But also you indeed can be that facilitator for somebody else. So buying, selling, renting, leasing, this is all in the area of the position of Venus and Jupiter. Funding is all a good time to be just pushing the envelope, just maybe applying for things and getting into that kind of good bargaining position, because you're likely to do well out of it. Apart from, as I say, when Venus moves out of there, you can still do well out of it, but Venus will move and just give you that kind of persuasive, articulate, fluent ability, more so between the 19th and the 1st of August, and also anything to do with paperwork. Again, somebody holding your hand there, maybe somebody just you can spread the load with, is more likely. Or there might just be more interactions between you and others when Venus slips out of there for that. It's about 2 weeks, it's about 2 weeks, just under. Okay, so Mars is in your sign. So because you've got Mars in your sign, this is boosting vitality in general anyway, and so that you can kind of man up and meet, you know, the challenges that come your way. But remember not to be impatient, not to overstretch your energies. Mars can be a bit accident prone, particularly, I have to say, between the 10th to the 14th, particularly when Uranus is going over the Sun. So just be aware of that, or, you know, watch your step there. Then we have, of course, Saturn. Now, Saturn is also doing something this month. Saturn is going to be going across Venus from the 10th, and then Jupiter from the 21st. So the thing about it, everything I was saying to you about Venus and Jupiter bringing goodies in your direction, definitely stacking the cards in your favor. But when Saturn begins to kind of close in on the degree, then it will be a bit harder work for good things to come in your direction. But it will still be the general idea, okay? But you might feel more responsibility because of that, or because you've got too much to deal with because of all of this material world we live in, you know. It might be a bit like that. You feel that every now and again, not too much, but just more to deal with. Or it may be that it puts a bit of a squeeze on the piggy bank and you've got to be more persevering. So it's like it takes a dip, okay? But it doesn't mean disaster in any way at all. Also, another thing about Venus, of course, is it rules love relationships and friendships and family relationships and business relationships as well. So again, I would say just expect to be more self-reliant when Saturn goes over Venus. And also when Jupiter crosses paths from the 21st onwards, that's something that you might have decided to do about 7 years ago, and this is now coming up to be tested. So a path that you embarked upon 7 years ago is now coming up to be tested, and this will be possibly around property, decisions made to do with, you know, the material side of your life, security side of your life. And if you're feeling that something that has its roots in the past isn't giving you enough scope to learn and grow, then it may be time to let part of it go, or all of it go, or change your attitude towards it. And you just maybe have to pull in your belt a little bit there. And there, whether it's 7 years ago or not, there may just in general be a bit of a squeeze for expansion in that financial area, or with other resources like the material possessions. Again, it might be because you've just got to kind of maintain things, or you just feel as though it's harder work in and around material possessions. But it doesn't take away the fact that having Venus and Jupiter in that area there is definitely good news, because it tends to bring good things in your direction. However, with the Saturn energy going across it, which it will do actually on into August as well, particularly with Jupiter, it means that you just have to put more effort into it, okay? And Saturn, of course, has returned to her previous position. She'll be, she's back in Scorpio until September. And that, as a matter of fact, puts her in a really good angle to your sun sign again. It can mean, again, through perseverance, through clearing the hurdles and just plugging away at something, there can definitely be ultimate success. But you need to be focused, you need to concentrate, you need to keep your eye on the ball. And anything to do with investment projects, enterprises, the affairs of young people, children, anything creative or speculative that you are involved in, artistic activities, anything like along those lines, anything to do with, you know, childbirth, pregnancy, that kind of thing as well. If you've been feeling, and you're likely to feel held back and limited, but this is when, you know, the going gets tough, the tough gets going, and And as I say, Saturn is, you know, she doesn't know how else to be but a bit stingy. However, she is in a good angle to your sun sign. So she has got, in her stingy way, in her rather sort of regulated, rule-ridden way, your best interests at heart, right? You Cancerians born 20th to the 23rd of July, or with 27 degrees, are going to be feeling that one the most this forecast period. And I've mentioned to you what great good fortune it is to have Jupiter in the piggy bank area. Jupiter is going to be in there until August, but even after Jupiter's gone out of there, you will still have Venus in there until October, and that is, as I say, more for you to play with there. And you Cancerians born the 12th to the 21st of July with 20 to 29 degrees rising are going to feel that energy the most, and that's it for July. If you know your rising sign or your moon sign, and you Cancerians, you should know your moon sign, and listen to that, because that'll be very strong for you, your moon sign. And also, if you want to check out any of this stuff, it's written up on my website, and I'll see you again the next time.